Welcome back to Glow and Flow Radio, the space where we unlearn survival mode and reconnect with our bodies and our truth. I'm your host, Dee Dee, and today's episode is called New Year, New Lies: Why Diet Culture Fails and What Actually Works. Now, let me guess, at some point in your life, maybe even January, you've made a New Year's resolution that sounded like this: This year, I finally lose the weight. Or this time I'll stick to it. Or maybe even no carbs, no sugar. Well, no fun, no joy. You downloaded the app, bought the plan, cleared out the pantry like a contestant on a reality weight loss TV show. And for a while it worked until life showed up and stress hit. And until your body did what bodies do, tried to protect you. And suddenly the narrative wasn't something is wrong with the plan, it was something is wrong with me. For years, that was the story we were sold. But something changed. Maybe you noticed the cycle. Maybe your body got louder. Maybe you got tired of apologizing to yourself. And today, we're telling the truth out loud. Let's start here with the big lie of diet culture. Diet culture thrives on false promises. It tells you thin equals healthy, and this isn't always the case. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that obesity comes with a myriad of health issues, or it can come with a myriad of health issues. But again, just because you're obese doesn't mean that you're necessarily having health issues, but it definitely increases the likelihood over time of developing health issues. But with that said, I have an uncle who was thin all his life, still is thin, very active, played basketball, coached football, just very active, and he developed diabetes. And on the other end of the spectrum, my grandmother, who was a plump woman, did not have diabetes or any health issues. I can't remember. I think, let me not say any. I can't remember if she dealt with high blood pressure or not. She may have. It's been many, many years. So forgive me, but she may have had some issues with her blood pressure, but other than that, she was relatively healthy until she passed away later in life. She lived a long life. So again, thin, like my uncle, thin, active, but still develop diabetes. Thin does not always equal healthy. Control equals discipline. That's what diet culture wants you to believe. Hunger is a moral failure, and that is not the case at all. And diet culture will tell you that your body is a problem to be fixed. And this may be the most detrimental message of all. And every January, it rebrands itself with a shiny new name: lifestyle change, wellness reset, clean eating. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with a lifestyle change, but if that lifestyle change is the carnivore diet, for instance, where you're only eating meat or meat related products, or you're cutting out all carbs, well, then we're getting into dangerous territory, right? Same control, but just new verbiage. Here's the part they don't advertise. Most diets are designed to fail, not because you're weak, but because your body is biologically wired for survival, not starvation. Restriction can trigger increased cravings because you're restricting yourself in some cases depriving yourself of vital nutrients, because if you're eating meat, for instance, on the carnivore diet, and you're not getting nutrition that your body needs that would come from the other food groups that you're depriving yourself of, then you can have these cravings that are intense because your body is trying to tell you it's lacking somewhere. It needs something. Restriction can also cause slower metabolism. Sometimes you can restrict yourself and your calories so much that your body will actually hold on to weight unnecessarily. I have experienced this myself. I've been on diets where I've restricted myself so much that my weight loss actually slowed to a crawl or became non-existent. And I was like, well, what is going on? In my mind, I'm doing all the right things. I'm working out, eating in a strict calorie deficit, but it was too strict for my body. And so I had to, through research, I learned that, well, maybe this is too restrictive for me. So I actually increased my calories, not by a whole lot, in increments. And then I learned my body needed more calories to function properly. And then once it sensed that I wasn't in danger, because I was causing my nervous system to go in flux, because my body is like, okay, she's in danger. She's not getting enough nutrients. What's going on? She's not getting enough calories to function. You can't live off 1,000 calories, most people. But for me, I needed more. And it wasn't even 1,000. It was a little bit more than that, but I needed a little more in order for my body to be like, okay, I'm good here. And then the weight started to decrease again. Restriction can also trigger hormonal stress responses, or even obsession with food. I mean, how many of us have been on diets where we just thought about food all the time? What you can eat, what you can't eat, when you should eat. You're at work thinking about lunch because you have not had adequate nutrition. So you are constantly obsessing over what you can eat, what you can't eat. That's not a healthy place to be. So, but according to diet culture, when the diet collapses, it's your fault, right? Something you didn't do correctly. And the diet industry, they win twice, right? You blame yourself, and then you go and buy the next plan. Rinse, repeat. January goes on forever. And let me be clear, this is not about willpower. It never was. It is about healing and understanding your body and what it's trying to tell you and what it needs. So let's talk about why diets fail from the body's perspective. because your body isn't confused. It remembers every skipped meal, every cheat day, every time you ignored hunger to be quote unquote good. And I must say that I am one who enjoys intermittent fasting. So, full disclosure on that. And I know that there's various schools of thought on intermittent fasting. And some may view intermittent fasting as skipping meals. And in reality, it's not about skipping meals necessarily. So, for instance, breakfast. Many times I don't have breakfast in the traditional sense. So, traditionally, people look at breakfast as the first meal of the day, the most important meal of the day. You get up, you need to eat within, some people even say you have to eat within 30 minutes of waking. I've read that in certain literature, and that's you got to get up in the morning and have breakfast. If you skip breakfast, all kinds of things are going to be out of whack. That's not necessarily true. When breakfast is the meal that you break your fast. So when you go to bed at night, let's say you go to bed at 10 and you stopped eating, you had dinner at, I'll say 8 p.m. and you didn't eat anymore after you had dinner. So from that point on, you've been fasting. And so when you get up in the morning, you're within a fast. And the first meal is the meal that you break your fast. So that may not be breakfast in the traditional sense. Breaking your fast may be later than within 30 minutes of you waking. It may be 11 a.m. It may be even a little later than that for some people. But that goes into listening to your body, what it needs. When your body is telling you, okay, it's time to eat, then you listen to your body and you break your fast. Now, I'm not going to get deep into ghrelin and, different things, hormones, hunger hormones, in this episode. That'll be in later episodes. We'll get into all of that. But in this episode, I just wanted to say that, your body is very intelligent. And it's going to recognize when you're not treating it correctly. And for some, that could be restricting yourself by skipping meals. But for me, I wanted to disclose I do enjoy intermittent fasting, and I don't necessarily skip meals, but I may not break my fast until later in the day. And that's fine for most people if that's what you choose to do, and that's what your body, more importantly, is telling you that works for you. Because there are times when I've had breakfast and I just felt like, I'm trying to work, I'm feeling sluggish. And then there were times when I broke my fast later and had my meal later, and I was full of energy. So again, it's about developing body trust and listening to your body. And I'm going to get off that soapbox, but I just wanted to say that about skipping meals. Cheat days, yes, your body will remember all those cheat days. And, if you have days where you're binging out, that is not a good thing for you. And it's not good to have cheat days, because there are no foods that should be off limits unless it's something specifically, you have a specific health condition to where you can't have certain foods or certain foods in excess. And really, when you think about it, we should not be eating anything excessively. I enjoy cookies. And when I really want a cookie, I'll have a cookie or two. Um, it's not a cheat. I'm just enjoying a cookie because that's what I really want at that time. Now, do I eat cookies every day, all day? Absolutely not. But, you have to you have to use common sense in that regard. And I'm not calling anybody, stupid or anything like that. What I mean is you have to understand that, yes, I can have a cookie when I want a cookie, but I also understand that I can't eat this all the time and every day. I hate when people will be like, oh, well, you can't have this, can you? And I'm like, I can. It's like if I don't want to have that slice of cake, for instance, right then it's like oh, you can't have that. No, I'm not restricting myself from cake. I just don't want it right now. And that's okay. And it's okay if you want it right then. That is okay too. But it shouldn't be considered a cheat. It's just a piece of cake. And we're putting too much um, emphasis on it. It's just cake. So if you want the cake, you have the slice of cake. If you don't want it, that's fine too. And no one should make you feel poorly for not wanting to eat the cake. And I know that there has been debate about, in the body positivity movement, where there are certain body positive spokespersons, so to speak, who will say they'll try to shame you for refusing to have a piece of cake at a party or whatever, or even in general. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that if you don't want cake at that moment. And no one can make you feel badly unless you allow them for refusing a piece of cake if it's offered to you, or if you don't want to have it at that time. But it's no different from if you don't want to eat a salad. Someone offers you some salad and you say, no, thank you. And then they're like, oh, you don't eat salad? You can't have salad? It's not, but I don't eat it or I can't have it. I just don't want it at this time. So, I know I'll get off on soapboxes on various issues, but we need to remove the thought of a cheat day or a cheat meal. It's just a meal. And if you want it, then you have that meal. And you just have to be smart about it. You have to be smart about it and not eat it in excess and not eat it every day. Switch it up. Have a variety. And try to eat nutritional foods for the most part, but not just say that, oh, I'm just not going to eat any sweets and I'm not going to eat any carbs ever. No, they all have a place. It's just, and I know you all heard this, you have everything in moderation. And it's just about listening to your body. Again, it all goes back to listening to your body, what it truly needs at that moment in time. And if you're eating a cookie or a piece of cake because you're stressed out or you're upset or you're nervous, we see it in the movies. There's a breakup and someone's eating all this food. They're eating a pint of ice cream. That's when you really have to know your body. And it's like, okay, am I eating because I'm hungry or am I eating because I'm upset? And again, if you haven't listened, go back to episode 11 about the emotional eating cycle, and it'll go more in depth on that. And I'm not going to belabor that. And the body, it all boils down to the body being very intelligent. So much so, when you restrict yourself, your nervous system hears danger. Again, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. When I restricted my calories too much, my body responded by holding on to weight, because it's like, what is she doing? I was doing myself a disservice by restricting too much. So again, it responds by holding on to weight. Increasing food focus. Then you become extra focused on food and your weight, because it's like, what is going on? Because you're on this restrictive diet and it's not going according to plan, so you become extra focused on food. Your body may respond also by conserving your energy and elevating your stress hormones. And you want your body to release that excess energy that's being stored in your body as excess fat, for instance. You want to burn that off, right? You don't want elevated stress hormones, because that in turn increases, that can increase cravings. And you need to understand this. It's not a failure. It's not your body failing you. It's actually protecting you. And yet diet culture frames this as you didn't try hard enough. You didn't have enough willpower. But healing asks a different question. What is my body trying to tell me? Now, think about it. Which question brings us to the real work? You didn't try hard enough, or what is my body trying to tell me? And if you answered, what is my body trying to tell me, you are absolutely correct. Now let's talk about what actually works. Holistic healing. At Glow and Flow Holistics, we don't chase transformations. We build trust, body trust. Because real healing doesn't start with food rules. It starts with safety. This is where the 5 pillars of holistic healing come in. Pillar 1 is physical wellness. Not punishment movement, not food fear, but nourishment, rest, and mindful strength practices. Listening instead of forcing. There are people who will begin these January plans and they'll get off to a start. I'll say a start, not a great start, but a start. And they'll go full throttle. And, there are people who they may even enlist the help of a trainer who is training them to their detriment. And what I mean by that is there are some trainers who will push people too far. And what I mean by too far is some people feel like you if you haven't worked out into you're sore or you nearly are passed out, then you haven't done well and you haven't worked hard enough. And that's not true. Um, I don't care what anyone says. This is based on research as well as my own personal experience. That is not true. You do not have to work until you're sore in order for it to be effective. You don't have to do exercises and movements that you don't enjoy in order to lose weight and meet your goals. Like, I don't really like the elliptical machines. There are some people who love it and they will swear by it. I enjoy walking. I will jog on occasion, but I like walking in nature on the treadmill. That's my cardio. That's what I enjoy. My main bay, though, is weightlifting, weight training. But there you'll have people who will go in there and they'll go hard, and they're being told that they need to go harder, harder, harder. And if they're not sore, or if they're not going every time to failure, when they're weightlifting, whatever, that they will not achieve results. And that's not true. And sometimes what I mean is, you'll train to your people will train to their, or they'll start the gym, and their trainer will train them to their detriment, as they will train them so hard on the onset that they will give up and stop. Or on their own, it may not be with a trainer, on their own they'll go to the gym and they may be overwhelmed, and they're trying to do things that are beyond them because they may see someone else doing it, and when they can't do it, they feel like a failure, like this is too much, and they give up. Or they're trying to run a sprint at the onset when they should be walking. I mean, the best exercise is the one that is not only effective, but one that you can do consistently and is enjoyable to you. Like, I like lifting heavy. That's not for everyone, but I actually enjoy it. I like walking. And I've heard fitness gurus who say, oh, well, walking is not exercise. Walking is nothing. That's not true. Walking is a very effective exercise. I'm not asking any fitness guru that. That's based on research and experience. So you have to find what works for you. That could be yoga. That could be Pilates. That could be a number of things. Swimming, hiking. You find the physical activity that works for you, and you start small. Start with getting up and stretching in the morning as part of your morning ritual. Doing gentle stretches. Maybe going for a brief walk. And then you build. I'm a person who believes in you start where you are and you build slowly, incrementally, over time, with consistency. Doing things that feel good and you enjoy. Because if you injure yourself, and I don't want to belabor this pillar, but I actually did enlist the help of a personal trainer at one time, and I basically knew as much, if not more, than the personal trainer. I just I have a history of dealing with my emotions and stress and past trauma and through food. So, I'm enlisting her help mainly for accountability, but she had me do this exercise that actually led to an injury. I went ahead and against my better judgment, and I did it knowing better, but I did it anyway, and ended up with an injury. And didn't stop me. It wasn't an injury that stopped my progress, but it definitely slowed me down. And it was, I'm trying to think because it's been a minute. It was weeks or maybe even months before I could actually do that, use that piece of machinery again. And I had to be like, okay, I'm going to have to, when that happened, I'm going to have to change things up so that I can heal from this injury and get back in it. And again, you have to just, again, it goes back to listening to your body, and you don't need to go into it full force, doing things that you don't enjoy that can lead to injury. You don't need to overdo it in order for it to be effective. Be mindful of everything that you do. When you do it, be mindful. Pay attention to your body and what it's telling you. If it's painful, it is not good for you. Stop. Do something else. Make sure you get plenty of rest. Rest is important. It does not mean you're lazy. You need to rest. Our bodies require rest, and you don't need permission to do it. And make sure you're getting adequate nutrition. Your body needs nutrition, and you can't get nutrition from eating one food group all the time or eating junk food all the time. It needs to be a balance there. Not about restriction at all, not about deprivation, but you need to have balance. Now let's move on to pillar 2, mental wellness. That involves unlearning the inner critic. If you do overeat on a day or during a meal, do not beat yourself up for that. You are human, and that's going to happen from time to time. That is going to happen, and that is okay. You are human. So do not beat yourself up, because that guilt only perpetuates the emotional eating cycle, and it keeps you on that hamster wheel. So remove the guilt, remove the critic, remove all of the shame, and it will be more beneficial to you mentally and otherwise. Mental wellness also involves releasing the all or nothing thinking. You don't have to, again, give up an entire food group, for example, to be successful. And that's just one example of all or nothing thinking, but you get what that means. Mental wellness recognizes how stress drives behaviors, including eating. The third pillar is emotional wellness. Understanding emotional eating without shame is important, because that shame, the guilt, again, it keeps you on that emotional eating cycle. And you have to break away from that cycle. It doesn't mean that you won't ever emotionally eat, and you can't beat yourself up if you do, because that is the human side of us. Again, that is our body trying to soothe us. But that understanding could help you tremendously with your healing journey, understanding that emotional eating cycle and what triggers your emotional eating. And you do so without shame and gently. You need to be gentle with yourself throughout that healing process. Learning emotional regulation instead of self-judgment, that is key. You need to understand that you are allowed to feel your emotions. That is permissible. Excuse me. If no one else has ever told you that, or if you think you need to hold your emotions in, or keep them in a deep dark place within, no, you can feel your emotions unapologetically, without shame. because you have that right and you are human. And we all experience various emotions. And you need to understand, especially with emotions related to stress, pain, trauma, what triggers those, and ways and to gently cope with those. And for emotional eaters, finding gentle alternatives outside of um, turning to food. Food may be one method of soothing, but it should not be the only and primary method of soothing. But it will be there because, again, we are human. And that's our body's way. That's one of the body's methods of soothing us, calming things down. The fourth pillar is spiritual wellness. That's reconnecting to your intuition. Listening to your body, listening to your intuition, that is very important. Grounding, breathing, and having presence. And this is something that I have really been working on of late, just being present in the moment. I love performing breath work and just taking a moment to perform some breath work and grounding myself, because life is going so quickly. It's like we've become so productive that we've become productive to our detriment. And there's nothing wrong with being productive. But I think that we have become a society of overproductivity where productivity is applauded and rest is treated as something that is negative. And nothing could be more from the truth. Again, our bodies are designed to rest. So while productivity has its place, rest does too. And you have to balance things out and not be going so fast in life that you don't take time out to be present and just breathe, knowing you are more than your body, that there's more to you than just the vessel, so to speak. That gets into the practice of gratitude and other things as well. I think the practice of gratitude is very important. And it's something that you should incorporate daily, because that can help you in more ways than I will get into on this within this particular episode. And the last pillar is financial wellness, because chronic money stress keeps the nervous system in survival mode. And survival mode sabotages healing every time. This is the work that lasts, not control, not deprivation, but regulation, compassion, and consistency. Again, let me say this: regulation, compassion, and consistency. Now let's talk about real healing versus diet transformation. And let's be honest. Diet transformation says shrink yourself, hustle your body, earn rest. Real healing says your body deserves care now, not once you've reached some arbitrary number on the scale. But you need to care for yourself now. Real healing says you don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. Real healing also says consistency beats intensity. You can get into that gym, as I stated before, and you can go hard, hard, hard. And then you give up because you're not enjoying it. It's too hard. Maybe you've injured yourself. It's just too much. It's too intense. However, if you're doing something that, you're doing mindful movement practices, strength training, whatever the case may be, walking, any number of exercises or activities. And this is the example, we're talking in relation to fitness. Consistency beats intensity every time. Something that you will continue to do over time will beat intensity that you do for the month of January, maybe part of February. Real healing looks like eating without guilt. Guilt reinforces the emotional eating cycle. Removing guilt can break the cycle in time. Real healing looks like moving without punishment. You don't have to perform workouts that you do not enjoy. Find movement that is pleasurable and works for you. Find movement that you will continue to do consistently over time. Real healing looks like responding to stress with tools, not food or restriction. Again, if you're eating because you're stressed and not because you're truly hungry, then we need to find other alternatives to address the stress. Real healing looks like choosing progress that feels sustainable, not impressive. You want sustainable results, not cookie cutter quick fixes that may appear impressive temporarily, but are not lasting. And if you are an emotional eater, and you go for that quick fix diet to try to deal with the issue, that may work temporarily and you may get some very impressive results. But are they going to be lasting results? Have you dealt with the root issue that will help you maintain your results over time? Real healing is quieter, slower, and infinitely more powerful. Now, I want to guide you through a short healing intention meditation. If you're driving, keep your eyes open. Just soften your focus, or better yet, replay this once you can do so safely and comfortably. If you're seated, allow yourself to settle. Take a slow breath in through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth. Again, inhale, letting your shoulders drop. Exhale, releasing the jaw. Place one hand on your chest, if you can do so safely, and one on your belly, and silently repeat after me. This year, I choose safety over punishment. Breathe. I release the belief that my body is the enemy. Breathe. I honor my body's signals with compassion. Breathe. Now imagine the year ahead, not as transformation, but as a relationship, a trusting relationship with your body. What would it feel like to trust yourself, to nourish instead of restrict, to respond instead of react? Set one gentle intention now, not for your weight, but for your well-being. Sit with that for one breath. And when you're ready, gently return. Healing is not a New Year's resolution. It's a commitment to yourself. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to explore the 5 pillars of holistic healing more deeply at glowandflowholistics.com. You'll find tools, resources, and guidance designed to help you move out of survival mode and into a life that actually feels good in your body. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you do not need another diet. You need support and you deserve it. I'll see you next time. Until then, breathe, soften, and glow.